Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/inkdependence. It keeps this channel ad-free. Hello folks, welcome to Ink Dependence. Today we're taking a look at this ink. This is a sample that was sent out to me of KWZ's Meet Me in St. Louis 2022. This one is subtitled Missouri Norton, which is a local grape to Missouri. So you have things like muscadine and that sort of thing in Tennessee. You've got the Missouri Norton in Missouri, and this makes a dry red wine, and this is a very red winey sort of ink. So this is sent out to me by the Pen Show. Thank you very much, Ken, for sending this out for me to review and show people. It will be available at the St. Louis Pen Show 2022, which is coming up in the end of June here, the 24th through the 26th. So very soon, if you are watching this review when it comes out. So let's take a look at this on some paper. I don't have a full bottle of this. I just have this here sample. These will be coming in 60 ml bottles. However, there will be 200 of those bottles, and they're going for $20 each with a limit of 3. We have they have had cases in the past where there's like a run on the ink and it's all gone, and they don't want to have that happen again. So 3 each, and then they'll be selling it online on the web page after the show is over, if there is any left. All right, so this is what it looks like on this Rhodia 80 grams per square meter paper that I like using here for these reviews. And as you can see, it is a nice winey red. It is kind of, I don't know, Merlot-ish, burgundy-ish, perhaps. You get a nice amount of shading, not a huge amount, but you definitely can see that it shades from sort of dark red to almost black, like a brownish black here in the darker areas, and I really like that. I think the flow on this one is fairly wet, which is nice. It's kind of on the medium side of wet. It's not out of control or anything like that, but it is a little bit on the wet side. So put this in like your medium nibs or your like not super wet nibs or whatever, and you'll be very happy. Now the performance is not awesome on the 20-pound 30% recycled paper, though it is pretty good. You can see there's only a few little feathers here on this paper, and this is, as I'll remind you, the worst paper available. This is, I mean, not, but the worst paper available that you're likely to use, and this is what will be in like your office copy or something, because it is very cheap per ream. So 30% recycled. This is from a Diplomat Aero nib. We'll take a look at that pen here in just a sec. You can see there is some bleed through on the other side here with this medium nib. There is, however, little enough that I think if you're using a finer nib or a drier nib, you might not be seeing that. But again, not actually that bad compared to, I mean, like everything bleeds through this paper with very few exceptions. So there you go. Okay. Now, this does have some mild shading, as I said, and I've had it in this Diplomat Elox pen for the last, I don't know, like week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, something like that. I have really been enjoying it. It has a medium nib here, which is Yovo medium nib. So a pretty medium nib, nothing out of control or anything like that. I haven't had any problems with it stopping up or bad flow or any of that jazz. It has been real nice. While I'm talking about qualities, let me smell this real quick. Yeah, it doesn't really have that vanilla smell that you get sometimes with KWZ. I know that puts a lot of people off. I actually like the vanilla, but this doesn't really have that. There might be a little... Is there anything? There might be a very tiny amount of that vanilla smell, but I'm not really getting it. I had to really sniff hard and twice to get that smell. So yeah, it's not as in your face as some other KWZs have been in the past. So pretty nice ink in terms of the color and the flow and all the shading and that sort of thing that you get here on the Rhodia paper. You're not going to see a whole lot of that on other papers just because it is a fairly saturated ink. And so if you have a paper that's coated like this, you'll get a good amount of shading, but not a whole lot on other more like regular papers there. All right, let's do our water test, take a look at our chromatography and our other papers and a bunch of similar inks, because this is a color space that I like a lot, and so I have several inks in this color space. Let's go ahead and let that shimmy a bit. And you can see the red swirling off of this one, starting to make it look a little bit more like wine, but you don't really get waterproofness in reds for some reason. It has something to do with the dyes that are used for red inks. I'm not really sure what the chemical nature is behind that, but it is pretty rare to get a permanent red. Let's go ahead and wipe this up. You can see there's not going to be a whole lot left. Yeah, I would not say this is water resistant much at all. And blot that away. Yeah, it pretty much took up all of the ink that was on the page. There you go. Yeah, pretty much gone. So if you dump your cup of water or your coffee on this, say goodbye to whatever you wrote, because it's out of here. Okay, so let's take a look at the chromatography. which is right here. And this ink is not a terribly complicated one in terms of hues. You do get a few different hues in here, mostly pinks and reds. There's a little bit of like, it almost looks like kind of black or blue pushing up the top there, but not a whole lot of complicated stuff going on there compared to some other inks. It's got kind of like reddish pigments in there. I got ink on my hands. Not a surprise. All right, let's look at it on some other papers. Here it is on the Domtar 28-pound paper that I have in some of my blank slate paper company custom notepads. I really like these. This is a notepad pattern that I designed on their site a long while ago, and I've been sort of slowly using up. I decided to stop hoarding it because I can get more. So here it is on the Domtar 28, and you can see that there is still a little bit of shading left over, but not a whole lot. This is a more absorbent paper. It is not sized, which means like coated like the Rhodia is, and so it doesn't repel ink in that way. And you do get a couple little like dots coming through the back, but nothing really to write home about. I ain't mad about it. That seems fine to me. And it felt really nice on this paper. It's got good flow, and I think it came out looking pretty nice on here. Okay. Next up, Tomoe River in a Galen Leather Co. Everyday book. Let's see. Went too far. There we go. There it is on Tomoe River. You do get some shading there. Of course, you get some pooling, like here in the swatch. And I think some of this up here, like it almost looks like edge shading where the ink has kind of gone out to the edge of each letter, which is always an interesting effect, and I like that. So it looks pretty darn good on there. It is a saturated ink, and those look really nice on this kind of paper. Next up, this is an Inky Fingers Currently Ink notebook. This is wheat straw paper, which is analogous to more common stuff like sugarcane papers and things like that. And there you have the KWZ, maybe in St. Louis 22, Missouri Norton, which is the like long name of this ink. And yeah, no weird problems on here. It looks a little bit, I think, redder on this paper than it does on some others, maybe because it's soaked in a little bit more or something like that. But it looks nice, and I like it. All right. So let's take a look at some comparable ink colors. Here it is on a Colodex card from Well Appointed Desk. These are really great swatch cards. That's what I use for everything. Plenty of room on there. So you do get all kinds of nice shades on here, from the dark reds to the shady bits. Is that a little bit of sheen? I don't know. I think I imagined it real quick. Then we have here Diamine Panda Piece, which is an ink from LCDC, that is La Chrome de Comte in... I forget where that is actually, but this is one of my go-to sorts of reds in this color because it's got good flow like the KWZ does, but it also leans into the sheen a lot more. You see that like circle of sheen in there. You can see a little bit in the words too. So pretty cool ink, that one. In the same vein, then we have Monteverde's Napa Burgundy, which is fairly close. You don't really get sheen in either one of these. They do both have nice shading. I think these are definitely in the same vein, and they're both wine-themed inks, so not a surprise at all. Next up, Franklin-Christoph's Sweet Maroon, which is one of my favorite Franklin-Christoph inks. I actually really like this one. You can see this is a bit more maroon than this. It doesn't shade near as light as Missouri Norton is capable of doing, but the darker areas are fairly complementary. This one's a little bit more red, I think, than the Norton is. Then we have Ferris Wheel Press Candy Marsala, which is also in the same vein. Lots and lots of wine colors take this kind of thing. This came from a friend, Ruth. Thank you very much, Ruth. And you see very similar kinds of things going on there. I haven't actually gotten a chance to use this ink yet, so I can't compare qualities. Next up, Pannonia Megiesh, which is sour cherry, which I got from Sugar Inks last year. And this is a really nice ink. It's a little bit more solid, I think, than Missouri Norton. Like it's more saturated or something like that. You get a little bit of shading, but not much. A little bit of sheen, but very little. It's kind of like just a nice saturated color palette in there. But interesting, a little bit more red, I think, than Missouri Norton is. And then lastly, because I just got it and it seemed like it was wine themed, so let's go ahead and compare them. This is Mont Blanc's Bordeaux. This is an older, like a vintage bottle that I got recently, and it is far more like, I don't know, purple maroon-ish than Missouri Norton. So even in this wine area, you get very different colors, but lots of things are kind of in this vein. It's a good color space, and I dig it. So there's a few that are pretty pretty close, but nothing's exactly the same. Although Napa Burgundy, man, the more I look at it, the more I think this is pretty close. So there you go. That's KWZ's Meet Me in St. Louis, Missouri Norton, available at that pin show this weekend in June of 2022. Let me know what you think about this one. What's your favorite wine-themed ink? Give me all that down in the comments. You'll find links in the description to the pin show and that sort of thing down below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that sort of YouTube jazz, and you will see me in another video very soon. Peace out.